Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every person's life when the decision must be made, not halfway, not with hesitation, but with bold, unwavering certainty. It is the moment when you no longer entertain the idea of retreat, when you no longer keep one foot in comfort and the other in courage. It is the hour to burn the bridge. You see, the bridge is safety. It is the escape route that whispers, if this gets too hard, I can always go back. But nothing great was ever achieved with a mind divided. Greatness requires a full commitment. History does not remember the man who prepared to fight and then fled. It remembers the one who planted his flag, looked back at the bridge, and set it ablaze. Do not be fooled. Burning the bridge is not recklessness. It is clarity. It is the moment you declare to the universe, there is no other option. I will succeed because I must. When your mind knows there is no return, it sharpens. Your instincts awaken. You think deeper, work harder, push further, not because you want to, but because there is no other path. You must stop negotiating with your dreams, stop giving yourself permission to fail. When Cortez landed with his army, he burned his ships. Why? Because retreat was no longer an option. His men fought as if their lives depended on it. Because they did, and so must you, whatever your goal is, be it freedom, fortune, purpose, or greatness, you must step fully into it. Let the bridge behind you turn to ash. Let it light the fire within you. Make a decision so final, so absolute, that your only direction is forward. Only then will life rise to meet your boldness. Only then will the hidden reserves of strength within you come alive. Because only those who are all in ever truly win. Total commitment requires eliminating the option to retreat. This truth, though simple in words, holds within it the secret to extraordinary success. Throughout history, those who achieved greatness were not the ones who dabbled, hesitated, or planned for an easy way out. They were the ones who made a decision and sealed it with irrevocable action. They closed the back door, they removed the safety net, they burned the bridge. When you hold on to an escape plan, you give yourself permission to fail. It might not sound like that in the moment. It sounds like being smart, strategic, or realistic. But in truth, the presence of a way out weakens your resolve. It drains your focus. Your subconscious mind, ever watchful, knows there is an exit route, and so it never gives your dream everything it has. Why would it? After all, there's always something to fall back on. But think of the most successful people you admire. Not one of them had a contingency plan that included failure. They committed fully. Not foolishly, not recklessly, but with conviction. When you cut yourself off from retreat, you give yourself no choice but to press forward, to adapt, to grow, to endure. That kind of pressure creates diamonds. That kind of commitment transforms ordinary people into legends. This principle is not just philosophical. It's biological, mental, and emotional. The human mind performs differently when it knows there's no turning back. When the stakes are high and the consequences are real, you dig deeper. You move past resistance. Fear may still be there, but it no longer paralyzes you. It becomes fuel. The difference between casual interest and burning desire is the decision to commit without an option to return. Too often, people start their journey toward a goal while keeping a backup life intact. They try to build a business while holding onto a job they hate, telling themselves they'll quit once the business is safe. They begin a new lifestyle but keep the unhealthy habits just in case. They dream of writing the book but keep waiting for the right time, keeping their energy scattered and their confidence diluted. The bridge is still standing, and as long as it is, the mind will wander back to it in moments of weakness. Burning the bridge is not about taking wild risks. It's about making a decision that leaves no room for negotiation. It's telling your mind, your heart, and your soul that there is only one direction, forward. It is a powerful psychological shift, When you know that quitting is not an option, you stop looking for ways to escape and start looking for ways to win. You become resourceful. You become inventive. You rise. Think of the explorers who left their homelands to find new worlds. They didn't have GPS, insurance, or a return ticket. They stepped into the unknown and committed to discovery. Think of the inventors who spent years perfecting their craft with no guarantee of success. They didn't tinker for fun. They invested every ounce of their being because failure was not something they entertained. The very act of eliminating retreat forces your brain to operate in a heightened state of awareness and focus. You enter what psychologists call a flow state more easily. You become aligned in thought, intention, and action. The distractions fade, the doubts diminish, clarity rises, and from that clarity, progress accelerates. Many people never reach their full potential because they keep one foot in the life they're trying to leave. They keep holding the door open, waiting for something to click before they commit. But life does not reward the hesitant. Life rewards the brave, the committed, the ones who make up their minds and act without hesitation. The truth is, the click happens after the decision, not before. Your mind is capable of incredible things when you give it a clear, unwavering target. But it needs you to lead. It needs you to decide. The moment you say, "This is it," there is no turning back. Your mind begins to align every thought, every effort, every piece of creativity toward that goal. But if you leave the door cracked open, even just a little, your mind will keep peeking back, wondering if it should go. Think of your goals like a battlefield. If you arrive and know you can retreat, your fight is weak, hesitant, and filled with doubt. But if you arrive and burn the bridge behind you, the battle becomes do or die, and that intensity draws out your true power. You fight with everything you've got. You no longer wonder if you're ready. You become ready because you must. This principle also applies to relationships, health, personal development, and any other area of life that demands real transformation. If you want to change, you must commit. You must stop dancing between two worlds and choose the one you want to live in. And once you choose it, you must close the door to the past so tightly that not even a whisper of the old life remains. Only then does real transformation begin. Consider how many dreams die not because of failure, but because of hesitation. People dip their toes in the water but never dive. They wonder what might happen if they go all in but never take the leap. They are haunted by what could have been, not because they lacked talent or opportunity, but because they kept the bridge standing. You cannot live your dream life and cling to your old life at the same time. One must go, and the longer you delay the decision, the more you drain your energy, scatter your focus, and diminish your momentum. Decide, burn the bridge, let your fear ignite your courage, and let your commitment drive your action. The road ahead may not be easy. In fact, it probably won't be, but difficulty is the price of greatness. And once you eliminate the possibility of retreat, difficulty no longer stops you. It shapes you. Every obstacle becomes a stepping stone. Every failure becomes feedback. Every challenge becomes part of your story. And you keep moving forward because there's no other way. Burning the bridge activates deeper focus, resilience, and drive. This is not just motivational rhetoric. It is a psychological reality, a mental awakening that shifts your entire operating system. When you burn the bridge, you remove all other options, and in doing so, you light a fire inside yourself that is impossible to access in a state of comfort or hesitation. It's a decision that forces the mind and body into a new level of intensity where clarity replaces confusion, action replaces procrastination, and resilience replaces doubt. Focus is not a product of having more time, more tools, or better conditions. It is the product of necessity. When you must succeed because there is no alternative, your focus sharpens like a blade. Distractions that used to tempt you, social media, idle conversations, petty complaint, lose their power. Why? Because your mission becomes more important than your comfort. The absence of a backup plan gives your goal new meaning, new urgency. You no longer have the luxury of wondering if it will work. You channel your entire being into making it work. This depth of focus is rare. Most people never experience it because they never fully commit. They always have a second option, a plan B, a just-in-case excuse that allows them to divert energy when things get tough. But the minute you remove that safety net, something extraordinary happens. Your mind begins to reorganize. It no longer searches for alternate paths. It doubles down on the one in front of you. Problems that once seemed overwhelming now look solvable. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach suddenly feel attainable, not because the world changed, but because you did. There is a part of you that only comes alive under pressure. This isn't just theory. It's hardwired into your biology. When the stakes are real, your brain releases chemicals that sharpen awareness, increase cognitive ability, and heighten memory. Your body adapts to meet the demand, energy rises, sleep becomes more purposeful, actions become more deliberate. You enter a rhythm where time slows down and your task becomes all that matters. That state is where high achievers live, not because they're special, but because they've trained themselves to live without a bridge behind them. They've learned to walk into the unknown with courage and to stay in it long enough to unlock their true potential. It is in this space, this pressured, focused bridge, burn space, that resilience is born. Resilience doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the soil of adversity, under the heat of pressure, with the rain of uncertainty pouring down. When you have no choice but to keep going, you find within yourself a strength you didn't know existed. You stop asking, "Can I?" and you start saying, "I must." That shift rewires your self-perception. You begin to see yourself not as someone who tries, but as someone who persists, who adapts, who endures, who overcomes. Every setback becomes a lesson, not a loss. Every failure becomes fuel, not finality. This mental toughness, this ability to get back up, to stay the course, to find a way forward no matter what, it doesn't come from comfort. It comes from total immersion in the challenge, and that immersion only happens when you remove the option to turn back. Burning the bridge is not just a metaphor. It is an activation switch. It's like throwing yourself into the deep end before you've learned how to swim. Your instincts take over. You stop theorizing and start doing. You stop fearing failure and start focusing on solutions. You no longer think in terms of how to avoid the fall. You think in terms of how to rise. Drive, the inner hunger to keep going, to keep building, to keep reaching, is strongest in those who have committed beyond convenience. When you make a half-hearted attempt at something, your drive fades quickly. The first obstacle becomes a sign to stop. But when you've burned the bridge, obstacles become invitations to grow. Drive becomes more than a burst of motivation. It becomes your default setting. You get up earlier, you work longer, you care more, not because someone told you to, but because you are now connected to your mission at the deepest level. Your dream is no longer a wish, it is a necessity. And necessity is the greatest fuel known to man. When something must happen, it often does, not because of luck or timing, but because the human spirit, when truly committed, becomes an unstoppable force. The reason most people never find their inner power is because they live too close to the shore. They never sail far enough that the shoreline disappears. They always keep one eye on the bridge, one hand on the lifeline, one foot in the old life. And so their power stays dormant, waiting for the day when they will finally step out without a tether. Burning the bridge is that step. It is the line in the sand that separates the dreamer from the doer. When the mind knows there is no escape, it engages with life differently. You start asking better questions. Instead of "what if this fails?" you ask, "what must I do to make this succeed?" Instead of "can I handle this?" you ask, Who must I become to thrive here? Those are the questions that produce growth. Those are the questions that unlock potential. In this heightened state, small wins matter more. Every success, no matter how minor, is a step forward, a validation of your commitment. You begin to build momentum, and momentum creates belief. That belief compounds. It becomes confidence, and that confidence becomes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wants success and start seeing yourself as someone who creates it. That transformation is irreversible. Once you know what you're capable of under pressure, you can never unsee it. You begin to live from that place, not just in your current pursuit, but in every area of life. Your standards rise, your habits evolve, your relationships shift. You start attracting people and opportunities that align with your new level of energy and purpose. None of this happens by accident. It begins with a decision, a bold, clear, irreversible decision to burn the bridge, to walk into the unknown with nothing but your belief, your grit, and your unshakable vision. From that moment forward, focus sharpens, resilience rises, and drive becomes unstoppable. Because when going back is not an option, moving forward is the only thing that remains. Success belongs to those who go all in with no fallback plan. This truth stands tall across all fields: business, sports, art, leadership. Wherever greatness is found, it is built on a foundation of complete commitment. Success is not attracted to hesitation. It is drawn to unwavering resolve. The world doesn't reward half efforts or timid steps. It responds to those who say with their actions, "I'm not leaving until I win." Going all in is more than effort, it is identity. It's not about working hard for a moment. It's about becoming someone who no longer entertains the idea of failure as a final outcome. It's about making success your only option. When you remove the fallback plan, when you cut the safety ropes and leave the shore, you transform your mindset. You are no longer merely attempting something. You are becoming someone, and that change within you is what sets everything else in motion. Those who go all in don't operate from fear. They may feel fear, but they don't make decisions from it. They step forward anyway, fully aware of the risks, fully aware of the cost, but even more aware of the reward. Their focus is not scattered between what if I win and what if I lose. It is completely centered on how do I make this work. That shift from worry to strategy is where power lies. It is where progress begins. When you have no fallback plan, you become resourceful. You don't wait for perfect conditions. You don't delay action until the stars align. You move. You take the next step with what you have. You use your mind more creatively. You take responsibility more personally. You stop blaming circumstances, and you start bending them in your favor. That kind of ownership doesn't develop when you're still holding onto a way out. It's forged in the fire of full commitment. Consider how many people say they want success, but keep preparing for failure. They say they want to build a business, but they keep applying for backup jobs. They say they want a healthy relationship, but they stay connected to old, toxic patterns just in case. They say they want to change their lives, but they continue surrounding themselves with people and habits that keep them stuck. That's not going all in. That's playing not to lose, and you cannot win a championship with a mindset built on avoiding failure. You win by playing to win. There is something powerful about burning your boats, cutting the rope, shutting the back door. Whatever metaphor you choose, the principle remains. You tell your mind, your body, and your spirit, this is it. There is no retreat. I will find a way, or I will make one. That kind of decision doesn't just move the needle, it redefines your life. You start measuring time differently. You stop wasting hours on things that don't move you closer to your goal. You begin to operate with a different urgency, a sharper clarity. Success demands that kind of intensity. It doesn't show up to those who are half interested. It shows up for those who are consumed with their mission, those who have fused their identity with the outcome they seek. When you commit at that level, people feel it. Opportunities are drawn to it. The universe responds. That may sound spiritual, but it's also deeply practical, because when you are all in, your actions become bolder, your vision becomes clearer, and your results begin to multiply. The people who change the world, the entrepreneurs who disrupt industries, the leaders who inspire nations, the artists who move generations, they didn't leave a foot in their old life. They burned the bridge. They chose to believe in their mission even when it was invisible. They didn't hedge their bets. They went all in. And because of that, the world couldn't ignore them. But it's important to understand this. Going all in doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean throwing away wisdom or strategy. It means your heart, your will, and your identity are committed without escape. It means your belief is louder than your doubt. It means you build the skills, you make the sacrifices, and you do the work, not because you're guaranteed success, but because you refuse to accept anything less. When you're all in, failure becomes a step, not a sentence. You see obstacles as part of the process, not the end of the path. You begin to view rejection as redirection. You stop needing permission to keep going. Every challenge becomes a test of your commitment. Every detour becomes a lesson, and because you're all in, you learn faster, recover quicker, and rise higher. You develop grit, the inner strength that doesn't fade when things get hard. Grit is not inherited. It's not given. It's built by the person who shows up again and again, who keeps swinging even when they're tired, who keeps knocking even when the door won't open. And grit only grows when you've eliminated the exit. When success is not just a hope but a requirement, your endurance deepens, your tolerance for discomfort increases, and with every passing day your internal fire grows hotter. Going all in also means aligning your environment with your decision. You let go of people who don't support your vision. You cut out habits that dilute your discipline. You create rituals and routines that reinforce your commitment. You become fiercely protective of your energy because you understand that every ounce of it must be directed toward your purpose. You speak differently, you think differently, you walk differently, people notice, they feel your conviction. You stop attracting the mediocre and you begin drawing in the exceptional. Why? Because people are drawn to certainty, and nothing creates certainty like commitment. When others see that you've bet everything on yourself, they begin to believe in you too. That's how support shows up. That's how momentum builds, but it starts with you making that initial decision to go all in no matter what. There is something magnetic about someone who is committed beyond comfort. The energy they carry, the fire in their eyes, the discipline in their habits, it's undeniable. They don't just hope for success, they expect it because they're doing the work that earns it. They're living from the inside out. They've decided who they are, and now the world must catch up. And that's the final truth about success. It begins as an internal decision before it becomes an external reality. When you decide, truly decide, that there is no other option but to win, something inside of you changes. The fear doesn't go away. It just loses control. The excuses don't vanish. They just lose their power. Because you have taken the wheel, you have chosen your path. You are no longer interested in retreat. You are no longer available for average. You are all in. And success, real success, belongs to those who make that kind of decision. The journey to greatness begins not with talent, luck, or perfect timing, but with a decision, a firm, immovable decision to pursue the vision in your heart with everything you have and everything you are. The decision to burn the bridge behind you and eliminate the possibility of retreat is the moment everything changes. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, but it is essential. Because until you do that, your mind will remain divided, your energy will be scattered, and your results will reflect your hesitation. The core of success is commitment, real commitment. Not the kind you speak about on good days or post about on social media, but the kind that anchors you when storms hit. The kind that keeps you moving forward when fear rises, when failure visits, when progress slows. Burning the bridge is not about dramatics, it's about clarity. It's about declaring that your old life, your former mindset, your fallback options are no longer part of your future. They no longer have permission to exist in your reality. Only the goal, the mission, the higher version of yourself is allowed to remain. In that space where you have nothing left to lean on except your vision and your will, you become something more. You discover strength that no comfort zone could have shown you. You develop focus that no scattered plan could have created. You rise, not because the path is smooth, but because you've chosen not to back down. That's where personal power is born, not in easy decisions, but in courageous ones. When you go all in, when you commit without escape, your identity shifts. You are no longer a person trying to succeed. You become the kind of person who succeeds. That distinction matters, because once your identity changes, your behavior follows. You stop second guessing and start executing. You stop hoping and start creating. And slowly but surely the world begins to respond, not to your intentions, but to your decisions. Burning the bridge ignites something primal and powerful in you. It silences the noise, it forces you to find a way, and in doing so it transforms you. The obstacles that once seemed intimidating now become the proving grounds for your growth. The delays and rejections you once feared become necessary parts of the process. You stop seeing hardship as a warning sign and start seeing it as a shaping tool. Every challenge, every failure, every moment of doubt becomes fuel for your fire. This way of living demands more from you, but it also gives more to you. It gives you purpose, resilience, clarity, and pride. It gives you the unshakable knowledge that you didn't just try. You gave your all, and in a world full of people standing with one foot in and one foot out, that kind of commitment is rare. That kind of decision echoes, it creates legacy, it writes history, not just in books, but in the lives of those who witness it and are inspired by it, because success is not reserved for the lucky, it is earned by those who decide.